Good afternoon. My name is Whitney Hendrick. I also said good afternoon this morning at 8:30 a.m. because I've been up since 5 with a very cute 3-year-old. We are proud new members of Belmead United Methodist Church, and when Reverend Sam asked me to share my story, we were standing out by the playground watching the kids, and I quickly said yes for some reason. And when I started diving into it, I was like, what in the world was I thinking? I'm a songwriter. I love creative writing of all sorts. I've journaled my whole life, but I have never sat down to write my story or any piece of my story with a means to share it in front of a congregation. So I am scared too, Levi. Thank you for sharing with the children about being scared. So I'm a bit out of my comfort zone, but I know a lot of your faces now, and I know we're all friends here. I'm married to Julie Hendrick, and we have 2 kids. Sloan is 5, and she's usually hanging out with Marshall somewhere, or one of her other BFFs in the congregation. She's very social. And Jude is 3, and he's usually running away from us or throwing a tantrum when he's caught. So that's where we're at in life. We're so grateful to be here and to be their moms. So I'll give you a little background about my faith journey and my spiritual walk. I was born and raised in Utah in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, also known as the Mormon Church. And my childhood was filled with youth groups every Wednesday night, Sunday dinners at my great-grandma Blue's house, night games, the best neighbors, the best community, girls' camps every summer where I met some of my best friends. I so badly wanted to be good or good enough. I worked hard at my perceived perfectionism, but the older I got, the more shame I felt for simply being human or being myself. While being gay is only a small fraction of my story, it's a big part of my religious roller coaster in terms of religion. I have an older brother and twin sisters that are just 2 years older than I am, and a younger brother, half-brother. I was always just a couple steps behind my sisters in terms of developmental phases and life. And something happened when we got close to our teen years, and I saw them start thriving. And I knew that I was different, but I didn't know why exactly. But I had the best sisters, so they really helped me embrace this season of life. They taught me how to put on makeup, and they let me have full access to their closets. Sometimes we fought about it, but a lot of times. When I went into my 7th grade year, they were in their 9th grade year. They really were my guides. I so badly wanted to be who everyone expected me to be, but it got increasingly lonely. But I had been given a life-saving foundation, a relationship with my Savior, my Creator, and a deep respect for prayer. Because of this foundation, even in my darkest moments, I knew I wasn't alone. I always knew that. If I could only tell you that the numerous screaming matches that I had with Jesus, whether banging on my steering wheel or driving too fast down the road, praying, or in my room by myself. But the only thing I have ever felt in return was held. I've always felt held. Psalm 4:8 says, "In peace I will both lie down and sleep, for you alone, O Lord, make me dwell in safety." I've always felt safe in the arms of Jesus. I'm so thankful for that. After graduating high school, I went on a study abroad trip to London with one of my best friends. And at this point, I think I knew that there was no place for me within the Mormon faith. But I kept trying. And on this trip, I have a vivid memory of riding the tube, like the underground subway there, with my friend Diane. And she handed me one of her headphones. It was back when we had the iPods, and I had to get really close to her and her really close to me, and she had one bud and I had one bud. And we huddled up, and playing was "I Need Thee Every Hour." Yeah. This song brought me to tears, and it still does today. Because once again, that foundation and love for Jesus made me feel so held in whatever was to come. I was taking flight. I was going out into the world to embrace the becoming of me. And I was scared. But I knew I wasn't alone. That same friend, Diane, we have listened to that song. We have had many conversations as we've gone through really hard things in both of our lives. I'm sure you have best friends like that you've just been through it with. In the past 2 years, her teenage son has been battling cancer, and 2 Christmases ago, I just got down on my knees in front of the Christmas tree, and I just prayed for the healing of Jack. And he's doing so well right now. He's doing so well. But I just go back to that moment on the tube. I go back to that song, and I go back to the foundation that I was given, that I knew I was being held no matter what. At the age of 18, I told a trusted individual that was no longer a part of the LDS church that I thought I was gay. And she gave me the name of a therapist, like any good friend would do. And I saved up my hard-earned dollars, babysitting and nannying, and I went to see her. And looking back on those 2 people, I know that they were both life-altering safe spaces for me at the age of 18. I'm also convinced that that therapist may have been the only gay-friendly therapist in the Salt Lake City Valley at the time. And somehow I found her. So at 19, I moved to Nashville, Music City. I came to pursue singing and songwriting, and I got a great live-in nanny job. And I still desperately wanted to be good. A good girl that a Mormon family could be proud of. I tried going to the Mormon churches here, but I felt much too guilty to try any other churches. I started living a double life eventually. Dating guys during the week and going to church on Sundays. A life I knew my family would be proud of. And then I'd go to Lipstick Lounge every other night I was available. And it was a place where I felt safe being me, the only place at the time where I felt safe being me. The me that was in hiding, that is. And the next several years following were some of the most painful of my life. Coming out to my family, being in my first relationship, and finally feeling like I could be me. I was just so tired of lying and avoiding the people that I loved the most, my family. I mean, I was raised and family was everything. And it was just a lie and a weight that I didn't want to carry anymore. So that brings me to my next life-altering safe space that I experienced in my mid-20s. I don't even remember how I got there or why I went there, but I walked into East End United Methodist Church in East Nashville. I was in so much pain from the consequences of choosing to be myself. And I lost support within the music industry. My family was grieving deeply because of their held beliefs and what that meant for my salvation. I barely had a relationship with my mom at the time, and it was devastating for both of us, for all of us, really. But I sat in the back pew at East End, and the most peaceful light flooded my heart as the sun pierced through the stained glass. And I cried. It felt so good, but so scary at the same time. It felt familiar to sing from the hymnals, but I hesitated to enjoy it too much because someone had told me that the Methodist Church didn't accept me either. But come to find out, East End was full of the warmest, most loving, affirming allies, and they saved me, truly. And God continued to hold me. He never let me go. And I sang and I worshiped and I grew in my testimony and I healed a lot and met so many wonderful people that I still have relationships with today. I had many conversations with the amazing Reverend Judy Hoffman. We had numerous coffee dates and she was a safe space. She created life-saving safe spaces for me and many others. I'm forever grateful. When Julie and I started dating, she was going to Cross Point Church in Nashville, and I was going to East End. And we went back and forth for a while. She liked it there, and I liked East End, and that worked for us. However, in 2020, a tornado took East End almost to the ground. And we lived close by. And I remember walking up Holly Street and seeing one side of the church. It was just like it was cut off. And there were remnants of the children's church from just little chairs and things hanging out the side of the church. And devastation filled my heart once again because I knew I'd found a safe space. So while the church worked on finding a new space and rebuilding, I committed to go to Julie's church with her. And after a while, it became our church, our family's church. A lot of life happened. A lot of loss, a lot of love, a lot of joy. 2 kids later, we decided we wanted to be more involved in the church. We wanted to just serve more, I guess, instead of just showing up on Sundays. So our kids were dedicated, and Julie encouraged me to join the worship team. And it was a process. But I did it. I made the team. I was like, let me in, coach. I am ready to sing, ready to serve. And it was really a way for me to rededicate my life and service to Jesus. So a lot of you know how that story ended. And if you don't, I'll give you just Cliff Notes. So we were a deeply invested, happy family. with Christ at the center of our lives, and we were never made to feel like being gay was an issue at this church. But almost a year ago, church leaders called me in for a special meeting, and they told me that they had revised their leadership agreement, and that because of my biblical sexual ethics, I would no longer be allowed to lead worship. We could continue to donate money and attend, but they could not permit me to stand on the stage or hold a microphone. And my heart was just done at that time, trying to be good enough for religion. And as I was leaving that meeting, I told those two individuals, I said, I serve a bigger God, and I hope one day you do too. And I still think about them a lot. I don't know where they're at in their faith journey, but I do think about them a lot. So I poured myself into music, the only place where I always knew I could safely take my pain. And I just knew that I couldn't stop sharing of the goodness of God. I wrote little ditties, songs that I could never finish. I won't stand in the shadows. I won't put down my mic. I'll never stop praising Jesus as long as I am alive. And I wrote, and I wrote, and I poured my heart into my kids and my wife and our home. And I worked hard on creating safe spaces. And after sharing my experience on social media, it quickly went viral. And our world was completely flipped upside down. We were flooded with messages from around the world, and too many people found our story relatable. And that was even more devastating than our own hurt and experience. And one of those online messages I received was from Deborah and Tara Gordon, inviting us to this church. And later, we also received an email from another member, Skip, inviting us as well. We didn't accept the invitation too quickly, but when we did, we hesitantly walked through the front doors, and we almost immediately felt the peace and hope and light that is found in safe spaces. And this time around, my experience has not only been with warm and affirming people, but with an affirming church. And that has been incredibly healing. Thank you for being a safe space inside these walls and in the community. You are saving lives and healing hearts, truly. One Sunday, I was here alone with Jude, and I was sitting in the back pew, and I was just watching the sun come through the stained glass on his little face. And I thought to myself, what if the 15-year-old version of me had walked through those doors? And I sat in that thought, and the power and healing that safe spaces can provide. How blessed our youth are to have a church such as this. That's really why we're here. We came for our kids initially. Because that foundation that I was given that saved me, that I went back to and back to and back to, and that song, I Need Thee Every Hour, that I went back to. We walked in those doors for our kids. How blessed we all are to have Reverend Sam advocating for all of God's children The way that she does it so beautifully and eloquently and lovingly within these walls and outside of these walls is so inspiring. And I do want to say that I would not change anything about my story. But I would hope that future generations don't have to walk through some of the dark and lonely spaces that I had to. Furthermore, my prayer is that many who feel that their church hurt is beyond reconciliation can make their way into churches like this. And if that doesn't happen, I hope that they know that they are always held, always loved. Now, almost exactly a year later, after we had our experience and were invited into these walls, here I am holding a mic. And in closing, I just wanted to share a song that I started writing. Well, I wrote it. It's finished now. But I sent lyrics to JB, and I was like, I don't know. Do you think we can pull this together? And she sent me the most beautiful accompaniment. And this is from my heart. And it's not just about safe spaces for families like mine. It's just about safe spaces for all of God's children.
Looking for safe spaces, looking for safe spaces, safe spaces to hold us now, praying for God's graces. He'll never let us down. He lifts us up, He sets us free, holds His cup for all to drink. We all need safe spaces to breathe. I need safe spaces to be me. How did this become such a scary place? I'm standing at the door, but my feet don't seem to carry me. I'm hanging on to Him with all I got today. He's the only one who can calm the raging sea. You're never alone, just fall to your knees. We all need safe spaces to hold us now, looking for God's graces. He's never let us down. He lifts us up, He sets us free, holds His cup for all to drink. We all need safe spaces to breathe. I need safe spaces to be me. If someone ever told you worship wasn't meant for everyone, they don't know the God I know. He opens His palms to all of us. Never stop walking towards the light. He'll be there for the glory of every sunrise, the breathless and darkest kind of night. We all need safe spaces to hold us now. I'm looking for God's grace. never let us down. He lifts us up, he sets us free, holds his cup for all to drink. We all need safe spaces to breathe. I need safe spaces to be me. We're all looking for safe spaces, looking for safe spaces.